"Hey, Jessie," Jake said to me while poking his head into my room. I laughed at his bedhead, his light brown hair sticking up in all directions. Apparently, he just got up from bed. He ignored my laughter and threw me my phone. I caught it with no struggle. "Andrew's on the phone." "Okay, thanks, cousin," I shouted as he walked down the hall. I put the phone to my ear and said, "Hey, Andrew." "Hi, Jessie," Andrew replied out of breath. His tone sounded worried. "What, Andrew? This is like the third time you called today. I know you miss me so much as my only beloved brother, but I'll have to say, you're becoming too overprotective. I'm fine. I'm definitely stronger now. Stop getting your panties in a twist and stop worrying about me." "No, Jessie, that's not what I want to talk about," he growled seriously. My mouth snapped shut, knowing what he was about to say was serious. "Is everything okay, Andrew?" I asked, sitting up on my bed. Then, I heard a door shut on his end and hushed whispers. "Andrew, what's going on?" I asked again, this time screaming as the talking on his end became louder. "Jessie, listen and listen carefully," he said. "Now, he's gone to a quieter part of the room. Brian just got attacked and he's in critical condition. He wants you to be here. You're his best friend. Actually, we all need you here. So, I suggest you get packing and take the next flight down here." I stood up and paced around my room as soon as I heard his words. "What? What happened, Andrew?" I gasped. My voice started to quiver. This was all too much to digest. I couldn't help but imagine the worst-case scenarios in my head. "Is Brian okay?" "No, we are all not okay, Jessie." Andrew's voice trembled at the end. I clutched the phone tighter, unsure about what he was about to say. There was a moment of silence before Andrew let out a sob. "Mom's dead." For a while, I couldn't even understand what he was saying. My brain was filled with blank and I couldn't find any word to respond to him. I could feel myself slipping into the same numb feeling I felt when my dad died a year earlier. All I could hear were the sounds of Andrew's choked sobs and a feminine voice soothing him. "No, this can't be true. I just talked to my mother yesterday and she was better than ever." I enjoyed the sound of her tinkling laughter when I told her that Jake's cooking was a disaster. I enjoyed the lame joke that she shared. The sound of her voice alone was comforting. It made me feel as if I were home. Now she was gone. "Jessie, we've just been attacked an hour ago." Mom, she took the bullet for me," Andrew continued to explain. I could tell he was trying to keep an even tone. "The doctors told me it would be a miracle if she can survive this, so I'm assuming that she is." He couldn't finish his sentence. My heart dropped into my aching stomach. "I'm sorry, Jessie." It's my fault again. It's my fault that led to Mom's death. I'm so... At the other end of the phone, I heard the slam of a door. A voice that sounded like Brian started to speak up. He said something to Andrew, but his volume was too low to hear for me. "What?" Andrew asked in shock. He choked and started to cry again. "What? Are you lying to me?" Brian's voice sounded clearer now as he responded to Andrew's questions. "Andrew," I shouted into the phone, knitting my eyebrows together in worry. "Andrew, what the hell is going on?" I kept yelling his name into the phone, waiting for his response, but all I heard was the door slamming shut again and a different voice coming from the other end. Tears started to overflow in my eyes as I recognized the voice. "Hey, Jessie, your brother went to go check on your mom," Brian said calmly as I began to cry. "Calm down, Jessie." "Brian, what's going on?" "Don't worry, Jessie. Your mom is fine. She's still alive. Trust me." Again, I couldn't find the right words to respond as my shoulders slumped and my eyes shut in relief. I began to smile and cry in happiness and appreciation that my mother was still alive. Andrew went to go check up on her. She made it. The doctor took the wolfsbane-laced bullet out just in time for her quick werewolf healing abilities to start working in her body. "She's fine, Jessie. She's just sick and needs to be treated for a couple of weeks." "Wolfsbane-laced bullet?" I asked in shock, remembering the bullets that were found in the guns my dad had stored in his warehouse. "Oh, come on, Jessie. You really are a poor wolf. You can't see the hunters that are hidden in the dark?" I shivered at the memory of his words, the way he tortured Daisy and my mom, and the way he hated my kind with a passion. Everything started to click together now. Once again, I hated myself for being the reason behind all of it. They wanted me, and since they couldn't find me, they were physically hurting the ones I loved. They knew they were my weak spot. I couldn't help the sudden surge of anger that ignited in me. "Brian, I'm coming home." I finally started to speak up, feeling the canines itch out of my gums and my wolf moving underneath my tight skin. "Coming home, Jessie?" Brian whispered. I could hear the shuffling of his feet. "Are you sure that's a great idea?" Harry is still hurt about the whole breakup and he's still... "Don't worry about that now. My mom is my first priority for the moment." "Okay, I'll call you back later to plan it out." "Sorry, but I have to go now. I need to deal with alpha duties." Brian said in a rush as I heard the door open on the other end. Bye, Jessie. Bye, Brian. I'd kept in touch with Brian ever since I've left them. Ever since then, we've still been as close as we were when I was still there. Brian has and always will be considered a brother to me. He was there when I told him about how I learned to use my hands to heal things. Yes, I was a hand healer, but I haven't perfected it yet. He shared my happiness with me. He was also there when I experienced the most painful heartbreak I had ever experienced 5 months ago. My heart constricted again at the memories. It was the first time I've ever felt my heart literally breaking into a million of pieces. It felt as if a cobra wrapped itself around my chest, squeezing the life out of me as I panted for more air. I remember the piercing screams mixed with the howls of my wolf that emitted from my chest. My body felt like it was on fire. I remember Jake and my other relatives surrounding me as I curled in on myself, hoping that the pain would stop. It was an hour later that I stayed on the ground, limp and lifeless with tears running down my cheeks. My mate had made love to another woman. Brian was pissed off and drove down for the weekend to cheer me up. He was about to beat the crap out of Harrison when he heard the news, but Betty, Brian's mate and Harrison's sister, stopped the two of them from getting into a fight. And ever since then, Andrew has ignored Harrison's existence. Both Avalon Pack and Raven Pack were mad at Harrison for doing what he did, but as for Harrison himself, he didn't care at all. I still love him, and I guess that was what hurt the most. Every now and then, I would feel the familiar burn in my chest. It occurred so many times already that my wolf learned to take it lightly, and eventually, we both got used to it. She was hurt, but she did not abandon me. If anything, she wanted to help me get stronger. Therefore, she helped dim the pain every time he would make love to another woman. The memory caused me to touch my Avalon-shaped mark that sat where my neck met my right shoulder. Tears rolled down my cheek. I missed him, but I knew he didn't miss me. I quickly wiped away my tear when I heard a knock on the door. Jake stuck his head inside. His hazel eyes showed concerned. I knew he wasn't going to leave me alone until I told him what happened. He was as stubborn as I was. "Just to let you know, I was eavesdropping," Jake said quietly and sat on the couch in my room. "You already know me, nosy." Jake Wood was at the same age as me. He hadn't found his mate yet, but he was so eager to find her. I knew that whoever his mate was extremely lucky. He'd treat her like a queen and would cherish her and spoil her. Jake was a healer of the wounded, meaning he could only heal cuts and bruises. He was stronger than I was in many ways, including his senses, agility, and energy. He's been training me ever since we first met, and because of him, thanks to his efforts, I was a better healer now. "I'm coming with you whether you like it or not," Jake declared. "All right, Jake, come if you want, but there was just one thing. He's not too fond of healers." I guess you mean that crank whose name goes by," Jake paused, directing it towards Harrison. "I don't care what he thinks, Jessie. I just want to be there for Auntie Angela and for you. That crank is not within my consideration. Jake knew everything about me. That included my heavy past about Lancetown. He knew about Scott. He knew about Brian. He knew about who were supposed to be mated to each other. He knew about my friendship with everyone in Lancetown. I wasn't overly excited to go back to Lancetown. Reuniting with my friends, my brother, and my mom made me all giddy inside. I missed them so much that I couldn't wait to see them. There was just one thing I wasn't so sure about. Harrison, my mate. He would probably be mad at me for coming home. He'd probably not allow me to be on his territory. Whatever he'd do, I wasn't too happy to see the man that broke my heart and the mate that I thought was perfect. I really don't know where this reunion may lead to, but I was about to find out soon enough. All right. Then you should start packing now. We are leaving early tomorrow morning, I sighed as I grabbed the dusty luggage at the back of my closet. Sorry, but I completely forgot to ask. I'm such a bad friend. I spoke with sympathy on the phone. I can't believe I forgot that Andrew told me you were severely injured. I was distracted when he told me my mom was dead. Don't worry, Jessie. I'm fine. Just a few scratches and bruises here and there, Brian said. When I was on the phone with you, I was much better. My wolf is such a badass that it's helping me heal a lot faster. Where are you now? I grinned and felt the nervousness bubble in my stomach as I passed the old worn-out sign that read, "Welcome to Lancetown, home of the mythical forests." In faded white lettering, the wood was damp, green algae covering the legs. "I'd just crossed the border," I said joyfully. "Just hurry up and get over here, I need you." Brian whined. I heard a loud thump and Brian's grunt. I laughed, assuming it was Betty. Okay, babe, stop it. You know you're my one and only." "Oh, Brian, you are still the same as ever," I said as I laughed at them. "See you in 20 minutes. Bye." I finally made it back home and all the emotions were bubbling to the surface. Jake laughed as he rolled down the windows, letting the cool air blow through our hair. I sniffed the familiar green leaves, and the scent of both the Avalon and Stone Pack mingled in the air. "I love the wind blowing through my hair," Jake screamed, catching the attention of a few people as we drove by local restaurants and small stores. "Hey Jake, please slow down with my car or you may crash it. You know how much I love my Pegasus," I scolded as he turned sharply. I gripped onto the black leather-clad seats as he sharply turned another turn. "Pegasus aren't all that," Jake shrugged. "Just slow down, okay? We don't have to rush to get there, you know," I said, but that was actually a lie. Don't get me wrong, I was so excited to see my friends and family. I wanted to squeeze the living daylights out of them. I also wanted to hug my mom, to feel the comfort of her slender fingers playing with my long brown hair. I wanted to see for myself that my mother and my best friend were all right. Then there was the other thing that made me want to stall this trip back home. Harrison White. White! How would he react with my return? Did he even know I was coming back? What if he didn't love me anymore, or he wholly dismisses the fact that we're even mates? What if he has married somebody else and had his babies with her? The thought clenched my heart. "No, that's not possible," my wolf said. "Don't think like that." He'd never go that far. Jake sensed the worry in my voice and he looked at me. I'm pretty sure that he could see the conflict swimming in my green eyes. He sighed, slowing down until we were just cruising. "Jessie, you have to face him eventually," Jake said as he clenched the steering wheel so his knuckles were white. I'm surprised the wheel didn't crush under the pressure being applied to it. I personally can't wait to see his face with bruises on it. "Jake, I really appreciated that you're looking over me like a normal cousin would do, but please don't cause any trouble with him." I fiddled with the loose thread on my white sweater. "We ain't here for him. We are here for my mom and Brian. I just can't stand what he did that to you. A mate is a precious gift and he's lucky he even found his own," Jake said, envy dripping from his voice. "Promise me you won't cause any trouble?" I pleaded again. "All right, I won't, Jessie," he huffed. "You'll find your mate soon," I smiled. "And she'd be lucky to have you." Jake didn't seem so sure of my reassurance, so he simply nodded and shifted in his seat. We didn't say much and the car was silent. It was a comforting silence, though, as we were too absorbed in our own thoughts to say anything. I felt the nervousness deep in my belly as we turned into the street where the gorgeous pack house was located. Its huge structure could be seen from here with the smoke coming out of the chimney in gray swirls. It was a deep brown color with large windows and balconies. The Avalon pack had bought a new pack home, using the old yellow one as a meeting area between them and the Raven pack. They've decided to purchase a new one since, well, I don't know. Probably they felt like they were richer than before. Jake drove into the driveway, parking in front of the huge double doors. I sniffed the air, noticing that the Raven pack was here as well. The laughter and conversation coming from inside the house went silent as the engine from our car cut off. I wasn't even halfway out of the car when the double doors slammed open and familiar dark hair and rusted color hair came running my way. I shrieked when they almost tore off my baby's door and practically squished me to death. "Jessie!" Nelson yelled in happiness. "Finally, you are back. You know how boring it's been since you've left? I had to endure Jennifer and Betty's constant PMSing. Yeah, you know how hard it was to be in the middle of Jennifer and Nell's constant banter alone? I missed it when we used to make fun of them," Perry pretended as he was about to cry. "But now I'm not so alone anymore." The two boys let go of me and Nell smacked the back of Perry's rusted hair-covered head. I laughed at them and noticed Jake standing off to the side. He looked quite awkward. Since this is the first time he came to territory, so I guess this is the normal reaction for him. "Guys, this is my cousin, Jake." I gestured towards Jake standing next to me now. I pointed towards the two males in front of me. "Jake, this is Perry and Nell." They did a man handshake and started to haul the luggage into the house and up the stairs. I followed behind, hugging my arms to my chest. Sniffing the air, I only found the slight trace of the familiar manly smell that I missed in the time I was gone. My arms slumped in relief and disappointment. While the boys traveled up the stairs, I stayed behind looking at the pictures of the Avalon pack that hung on the wall. My eyes found a picture of me, smiling as Harrison held me tightly from behind as he kissed my cheek. It wasn't on the wall, however. I found it face down on top of the fireplace. My heart started to clench again. "Sorry about that, Jessie," I heard a familiar feminine voice say as she took the picture from my hands. She hung it back on its hook on the wall. Her crystal blue eyes showed concern. "I didn't take them off from the wall since you were gone. We haven't completely settled in yet." Betty lied and gave me a comforting smile. "You don't have to lie to me, Betty," I said, "but thanks for trying. Plus, you look like you're a clown on crack when you lie." "Oh, you are so mean, Jessie." Betty laughed and hugged me. I returned the embrace and laughed with her. "When did you get short hair?" I said, pulling back and playing with the black hair that framed her face in a bob cut. Since Nell thought it was funny to bleach half my hair in my sleep, Betty pouted and crossed her arms over her chest. I laughed at Nell's idiocy and ruffled her hair. It looks nice. I could never pull off short hair. Right when I was done saying that, I heard a warrior battle cry. I looked up at the second level, startled, and saw Brian climbing over the banister about to jump on top of me. Before he could crush me, I quickly moved out of the way with my werewolf ability and watched as he landed on his face, groaning. Betty rolled her eyes and helped him up. How many times do I have to tell you to stop getting yourself hurt? You're still recovering. Gosh, she's gotten super fast. Brian slowly got up, smoothing out his shirt. Well done, Jessie. I couldn't respond as I gasped in shock at the bruises on his face. His bare arm was covered in gauze, blood clearly visible. My hands trembled at the sight of Brian. I've never seen him so wounded and injured. I'm sure my face paled as tears welled up in my eyes at my wounded best friend. Brian, I whispered, coming closer and touching a bruise on his face lightly. What happened? I don't want to kill the welcome home vibe, so you'll just have to wait for the meeting tomorrow to find out what happened. Brian shrugged it off like it was nothing. He opened his arms and crushed me into his chest. I was momentarily out of breath when I hugged him back. I'm glad you're okay, I said, letting go of him and noticing the small smile on Betty's lips. She was happy that her mate reunited with his best friend. Of course I'm okay. Nothing could take me down, Brian hollered. I rolled my eyes at his cockiness. Yeah, right, Betty snorted. I've taken you down before. That's right, baby, Brian continued, putting his arm around her shoulders and nuzzling her neck. You could take me down anytime. Okay, my eyes are burning, I screamed, covering my eyes with my hands. The couple laughed and settled for just holding hands. I looked down at their linked hands, feeling envious towards their perfect relationship. My wolf howled, and I had to remind her it was my fault that we weren't exactly happy right now. I heard Perry, Jake, and Nell come down the stairs as they talked about the training Jake does on a daily basis. Perry whistled at the amount of work healers put into their training. Nell looked intimidated, but still praised the hard work and dedication that Jake does. At least Jennifer is not around, or else you'd feel like you were watching porn, Brian groaned. I swear, Nell and Jennifer have the worst case of public display of affection in the whole nation. I poked my tongue out in disgust as Nell turned the color of a ripe tomato. Where is Jennifer? Where is Jennifer? I asked. She went with Daisy to see Scott, Betty said with no elaboration. I quickly dismissed it with no questions asked. The tense silence that followed lasted a couple of seconds as they all looked at me. I cleared my throat and smiled. Guys, this is Jake, I motioned towards my cousin. Betty and Brian introduced themselves, welcoming him with bright smiles. Did you visit your mom and Andrew yet? Brian asked, concerned. No, not yet, I sighed, scratching the back of my neck. It reminded me of Harrison, so I quickly dropped my hand. I'm going there when Andrew calls. They went to the doctor for a daily checkup. You'll be staying here for a while, right? Betty asked with a warm smile, and I nodded. My room is being used as an equipment site for all my mom's medical machines, I said. I hope it's okay that I stayed. You're welcomed anytime, Betty said. In addition, Beta Nell gave you permission. As I was about to say something, I heard the distant sound of car doors shutting. The familiar manly smell wafted up my nose, causing my wolf to jump in joy. I froze, feeling my heart drop into my belly. My heart beat faster with every step that grew louder as he approached the front of the house. What confused me was the sweet, feminine smell that mixed with his and the heavier sound of footsteps that followed after him. I inhaled deeply, trying to recognize the smell. However, I couldn't. I shrugged it off. It was probably a new werewolf. Everyone around me watched me with wary eyes. Jake stood behind me as we all awaited the presence of my mate. I really didn't want this moment to come so soon, but I quickly closed my eyes knowing I had to encounter him sometime. When I opened my eyes, there he was staring back at me with his crystal blue eyes that darkened like a storm. I could see all the emotions that flickered in them. He opened his mouth to say something, but he was at a loss of words. He was still as handsome as before with his black hair cut short, his prominent jawline, his sculpted cheekbones, and his muscled arms I remembered myself being wrapped in. My wolf demanded that I embrace my mate now, but I followed the same muscled arms that used to hold me and found that his hand was intertwined with a smaller hand. My world collapsed as I saw the woman next to Harrison. She was around my age and she was extremely pretty. Her light brown hair was in a loose side braid, her shorter hair framing her heart-shaped face. She looked happy to see me as her lips pulled into a big, welcoming smile. She was average. She wasn't a someone who I'd imagined to see wrapping her arms around Harrison. She was just a normal human. For a couple of seconds, it was quiet as I swallowed in on myself. I could literally feel my heart breaking in two. My vision started to blur, but I blinked back the tears and plastered on a fake smile. "Hello, Harrison," I addressed formally, and his expression never changed. He still looked at me with all the emotions flickering on his face. "This is Jake Woods, my cousin." I looked up at Jake to see his lips set in a thin line. His light brown eyes had darkened in anger. "Calm down, Jake." "You promised," I spoke through the mind link. He didn't listen, but stared at Harrison as if he wanted to kill him right there. "Baby, are you okay?" The female next to Harrison put a hand on his shoulder in worry. I held in the growl that dared to escape my lips. That seemed to snap Harrison out of whatever he was thinking. He ran his hand in his hair before glancing at me again. He, too, plastered on a fake smile as he spoke. "Welcome back, Jessica." I cringed when he said my full name. His smooth and deep voice brought back memories of when he used to tease me, tell me stories, and whisper adoring words in my ear. I shook it off. "Jake, welcome to Lancetown." Jake shifted his weight, but didn't say anything. "Ah," Harrison continued, still wearing that fake smile. "This is Sarah Price, my girlfriend." "Nice to meet you," I forced out. "I'll see you guys at dinner." "I'm going to go, unpack my stuff. Do you need help?" Betty asked, her voice soothing. I didn't dare look at anyone else in the room, afraid that if I met their sympathetic eyes, I would burst. No? Thank you." Walking past Harrison and into the corridor where the stairs were located, I felt the tears roll down my face and heard the whimper of my wolf. She cried too. Even if I sat as far away as possible, I was still aware of his every movement. Usually, I would bathe in his manly smell that engulfed me for the past 2 hours. I would bury myself in my favorite scent, content and happy. However, it felt suffocating when I reminded myself that we weren't together anymore or he didn't want me. Harrison was quiet, occasionally looking in my direction. My wolf would purr every time he secretly glanced at us. Us! My hands itched to wipe the food that smeared on the corner of his mouth. Whenever I was aware that Sarah entwined her hands with his own, I had to stop the growl that wanted to escape from my lips. "Jessie," Perry groaned, smacking his forehead with his hand. "Please tell them to stop." I laughed when he motioned towards a bickering Jennifer and Nell. They sat across each other, leaning forward in the heat of the moment. Jake, who sat next to Nell, stared at them with wide eyes. "Listen to me, Nelson Cooper," Jennifer scolded angrily, her face turning red. "Only if you promise to talk dirty, babe," Nell winked, crossing his arms over his chest. His gray eyes danced with amusement while Jennifer's green eyes glared at him. Jennifer twirled a piece of her long blonde hair before biting her lip suggestively. She looked down at Nell's lips. Slowly dragging her gaze to look straight into his eyes, she smiled seductively. I held back my laughter when Nell's eyes widened before darkening. "Why don't we?" Jennifer said sweetly before someone interrupted her again. "Oh gosh!" Perry cried, gripping his hair with both his hands. "Please, not again." However, the couple ignored his comment. "Why don't we go to your room?" Jennifer said suggestively before her voice went harsh. "So that way I could suffocate you with all your pillows." "Oh, come on." Nell leaned back, still smiling at Jennifer. "You know you love me." "Shut up, lover boy," Jennifer said before returning her gaze towards me. "Where's Betty and Brian? They sure are taking long with the dessert." In that precise moment, we heard glass shattering inside the kitchen. We all laughed when Brian yelled, "Ouch!" "Gosh, Betty, it was an accident. That was my favorite glass bowl," Betty retorted. "Because you are so vertically challenged, you ruined it. Are you calling me clumsy?" My eyes landed on Daisy, Harrison, and Sarah. Daisy and Harrison were deep in conversation, probably discussing about Scott's well-being. Sarah stared down at her porcelain plate, playing with her food. "Jessie," Jennifer whispered so only I could hear. "I'm sorry about what happened." "You didn't do anything, Jennifer," I said, smiling at her. "It's fine. If he's happy, then I'm happy for him." "Harrison obviously doesn't see what a great girl he was blessed with," Jennifer said angrily. "He doesn't deserve you at all. Jennifer, I wanted the breakup. Not him, so he's not at fault. But still, he doesn't need to be gallivanting with other girls when he found his mate, does he?" I stayed quiet for several seconds before voicing the question that has been haunting my mind for a while. "Does she know about us?" Jennifer shook her head. "I think it's better that way," she whispered. She looked over my head, her eyes widening slightly. Oh no. I looked back to see Sarah coming towards us. She sat in Betty's chair, which was next to me, with a friendly smile on her face. "Hi, guys," she said. "Hi, guys," Sarah said to Jennifer and me with a friendly smile on her face. "Stop it," I said to my growling wolf. "Being jealous won't be of any use." "Hi, Sarah," Jennifer said stiffly, plastering a fake smile on her face. She was interrupted when a crumpled napkin hit her cheek. Her smile fell and she turned to glare at Nell's smug face. "You're such an attention-seeker, drama queen." Perry and Jake groaned as the couple argued again. Hey, Sarah, I said, turning back to Sarah with the friendliest expression I could muster. I probably looked like a hyperactive chipmunk, but it was better than being stoic. Jessie, she returned. It's nice to finally meet you. Your group of friends had many good things to say about you. I was excited to meet you from the way they described you. Oh, that's good, I hope, I laughed awkwardly. Although Sarah was being immensely nice and kind, I couldn't help but feel awkward around her. She was dating the man that was made for me, my soulmate. My soulmate. She loved my first love, my current love, and the person I will love forever no matter the circumstances. From the way your friends talked about you, I don't think there was anything bad to say, she laughed. Good, because I would have smacked them all, I said jokingly. I noticed Harrison was staring at me. I somehow feel like he was still in love with me. No way. That must be my pitiful imagination. Sarah looked at him and he removed his gaze away from me. It made me wonder if she knew about me and Harrison's past. So, I cleared my throat. You and Harrison, huh? Yeah, she gushed like a girly teenager. We've been together for 6 months. Even if I prepared myself for her answer, it still caused my stomach to twist into an agonizing knot. My wolf howled at the thought of her mate being with someone else. I ignored the growing ache in my chest and quickly shook off the feelings before Sarah saw. That's great, I said brightly, although I wasn't feeling so bright at the moment. He's the best, she continued to gush. I'm so lucky that he's my boyfriend. He's really sweet, funny, and gosh, is he handsome. I'm happy for you two, I exclaimed. My statement was half true. I was happy that Harrison was happy. How did you guys meet? As cliche as it sounds, I was walking to the store when I bumped into him. From there, our journey started. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes at her. She was one heck of a vulnerable, hopeless romantic. I didn't know what to say next, because of my raging jealousy. I wasn't going to lie and say I wasn't jealous. I also wasn't going to lie and say Holly wasn't a friendly girl just because I envied her relationship with my soulmate. The hard truth was, Harrison had found a girl worth keeping. The dessert is finally ready, Betty sang, saving me from responding to Sarah. Sorry it took so long. Brian here was no help at all. I did mostly everything, he cried, following behind her. He held a huge cake in his hands, and I resisted the urge to attack it. They knew how much I loved carrot cake, and there it was, glorious on the porcelain platter. I iced it, I piped out the letter, and I even baked it. Sorry, dear, but you are one horrible cook. Anyways, Betty digressed, straying away from her embarrassment. We made Jessie's favorite cake to welcome Jessie and Jake. You guys are too kind, I said, shooting appreciative smiles towards Betty and Brian. I looked at everyone, including Harrison, in the eyes with gratitude. Thank you for welcoming me back and being friendly towards my cousin, although he is a little slow. Hey, Jake warned. I've missed you guys a whole lot, and I'm glad that I'm here right now. You guys have been amazing friends. Actually, you all are like my family, and you will always be my family, I said honestly, while everyone at the table awed. Hey, is this the end of this world? Brian asked jokingly. I've never seen Jessie be so nice. I suppose it is then, Nell and Perry said in unison. We've missed you, Daisy said, pushing her platinum blonde hair out of her face to give me a warm smile. Welcome to Lancetown, Jake. Thank you, Jake said, smiling. Thank you for taking me in. Oh, we'll take you in any time, handsome, Betty said bluntly. I agree, Jennifer giggled. I laughed when Jake blushed and shot me a frightened look when Brian and Nell growled. Oh, relax, Jennifer and Betty said simultaneously, laughing and giving each other a high five. Welcome back, Jessie, everyone said while Daisy, Jennifer, and Betty hugged me. The fabulous four are reunited, Betty cried. This is way too sentimental for my taste, I joked bitterly. Whatever, Daisy said. I know you missed us. You love us, Jennifer joined in. Hey, I yelled when I saw that Brian already started eating the carrot cake. He froze with cream cheese on the corner of his mouth, brown eyes widening in horror. You didn't just touch that carrot cake first. Oh, I did, Brian said in a smug tone, taking another bite of the angelic cake on his plate. I poked his belly. You better watch out. You've got big troubles. I lied. Everyone roared in laughter. Oh, please, Brian said, not bothered by what I just said. He flexed his arm. The only thing that got big were these muscles. Everyone started teasing Brian, and the laughter and conversation just grew from there. It was loud, everyone fighting and joking with each other. I looked at my friends with a big, genuine smile on my face. Although it was loud and crazy, I was happy to be back home. My heart raced in my chest as the phone rang. Please be okay. The knots in my stomach constricted as I tightened my grip on my cell phone. Shaking slightly, I drew in an unstable breath. I looked up at the dark sky, which was dotted with twinkling stars. There was a slight breeze causing a rustle to come from the millions of leaves in the forest behind the pack house. It was silent as I sat on the porch steps, waiting for Andrew to pick up. "Hello," a tired voice answered from the other end. "Andrew," my voice shook. "What happened? Why you didn't call me? Did something happen with Mom?" "I'm sorry, Jessie," he said. "I just didn't want to bother you. I knew the pack's planned a welcome back dinner. Mom is my top priority. It was the reason I came here." "She's fine," Andrew reassured with a lighter voice. "The doc said she'd be able to eat right in a couple of days." "Can I visit?" I said, anxious to hold my mother in my arms. "Sure, you may even come over now, but she's sleeping," Andrew said. "Oh," I said, slightly disappointed. "I think I'll just come over tomorrow after the meeting. She's resting. I don't want to bother her. She needs to get some rest." "Okay, then I'm going over there to come see you," Andrew said. I heard the jingling of keys. He yawned. "I'm so sorry that I wasn't there to welcome you home. Andrew, just get some sleep." "I'll come tomorrow." "Don't worry. I would rather you take care of Mom than welcome me home." "Are you sure?" "Of course," I smiled, even if he couldn't see me. "Just so you know, I'm smiling right now." "That's right, kiddo," I heard Andrew's voice lace with happiness. "Hold your head up high and smile. Stand up tall and remain strong." "You are strong," I recited, remembering the words my older brother always told me when we were going through rough times. "You too, Andrew," I sighed, hoping that my brother was okay. "Are you okay?" There was a short pause before he sighed. "I'll be fine. Now go sleep. You must be tired from your road trip. See you tomorrow." "Good night, Andrew. I love you." "Love you too, my little sis," Andrew said before the line went dead. Tears slipped down my cheeks, wanting to embrace my family in my arms. I felt useless sitting here, crying while I could be over there to help Andrew take care of my family. There was only one reason that made me take residency in the pack house for my stay in Lancetown. I had a feeling that the only reason they were attacked was because of me, and I didn't need to lead any more danger towards my injured mother. "Are you okay?" I heard a familiar voice say. I closed my eyes, my chest clenching at the soothing male voice. Although I hated that he had to see me like this, a shiver went down my spine. I got up from my seat on the porch steps and turned to face Harrison. His crystal blue eyes still held a lot of emotion. He slightly flinched when a traitor tear rolled down my cheek. "I'm fine," I said distantly, walking around him to go back into the house. "Jess," he whispered. The pain in my chest grew, hearing him use the nickname he gave me. I closed my eyes once again, walking towards the door as if I've never heard him. "Jess," he said with concern. I froze when I felt his hand on my arm, causing the familiar warmth and tingles to spread all throughout my body. My wolf howled, wanting to be closer to her mate. I refused to turn around to face him. I felt the tears rolled down my cheeks some more. There were a lot of emotions surfacing now that I just talked to my brother, and Harrison finally wanted to talk to me after 14 months. "Yes?" I whispered. My voice quavered and I cursed myself for being so weak. "Can we talk?" he asked after a short silence. He dropped his hand. I felt his eyes burning holes in my back. "What do you want to talk about?" "We need to talk, or I think we should talk about where we..." Harrison sighed. "Can we talk about us? There's nothing to talk about. I'm fine with you hanging out with your little lover." I shrugged. Even if my back was facing him, I felt him flinch. "We need to talk about us, and I know you're probably wondering about Sarah," Harrison said, his voice trembling. "Harry, there's nothing to talk about, okay? It's my fault that we're not together anymore. I'm happy for you and Sarah. You deserve to be happy." I didn't give him time to answer as I opened the back door and entered the house. Once again, I walked away from Harrison with tears in my eyes. "First of all, please welcome back, Jessie," Harrison said to the crowd of people in front of him, motioning a hand towards me. "Also, please welcome her cousin, Jake Wood." The crowd clapped with bright smiles on each of their faces. It was rare to see a pack meeting with this much people, but the Avalon and the Stone Pack decided to have the meeting together today. It was also rare to see that the two packs got along well. They sat together, making small conversation. The men shook each other's hands while the women hugged each other. All 170 of us were cramped up in the meeting room in the pack house. Everyone shared chairs, kids sat in their parents' laps, the men stood to the side of the room. The representatives of the pack, such as Brian, Harrison, Nell, Perry, Betty, Jennifer, Daisy, James, Sam, Clark, Jake, and I, stood at the front. The only people missing were Andrew and my mother. The thought caused an ache in my chest, but I quickly shook it off. I couldn't wait to see them after the meeting. It wouldn't surprise me if I bolted out of the room before anyone else did once the meeting was adjourned. "I am Harrison White, the alpha of the Avalon Pack," my mate said, smiling a warm smile towards the werewolves. My wolf soared with pride at the mention of her mate's high title. He patted Nell's back. "This is Beta Nelson Cooper." I'm Alpha Brian Smith of the Raven Pack, my best friend said and flashed a perfect smile. He motioned towards James. This is Beta James Porter. James, Clark, and Sam welcomed me home this morning. Although they didn't really spend much time around the Avalon Pack because they couldn't really stand it, they were still great friends of mine. I shot a warning look at Nell, who looked like he was going to tear James into shreds. James rolled his eyes, still standing next to Jennifer. You better stay the away from her, dude. Nell whispered only so we could hear. Clark and Sam growled at Nell, projecting their beta as an instinct. Look, Cooper, Jennifer and I are just friends, James snapped. I respect her decision to be with her soulmate. You have her now, so I don't know why you're getting your panties in a twist. To refresh your memories, James and Jennifer were in a relationship and were still in a relationship a year ago. A month after I left, Jennifer broke up with James, telling her she felt that it was wrong to date somebody else when she was blessed enough to have found her mate. James let her go. 2 months after that, Nell and Jennifer started their relationship. The alphas shot a warning look towards their betas, obviously telling them through the mind link that they needed to stop being immature in front of all of these pack members. After I left, I tried my best to hide what I was feeling and all my thoughts from Harrison and the Avalon Pack. They didn't need to hear my true feelings or my exact reason for leaving. It's good to see all of you here, Brian continued. We are extremely proud to be the alphas of such a dedicated pack. I'm pretty sure you are aware of why we called a meeting. There were a few slow nods, a blanket of fear and concern covering the people in front of us. So, Alpha Harrison will explain further. Harrison cleared his throat before saying, A few days ago, we were attacked by hunters in the forest with weapons laced with wolfsbane. From our discovery, they were customized guns, spears, and arrows to take down werewolves. There were a few gasps, including my own. The pit of my stomach began to hurt from all the tension and the fear that started to build. No worries, there are no signs of hunters so far. They do not know where we live or where we walk. They just caught us while we were taking the special training that the representatives receive. Luckily, nobody was killed in this attack. We managed to take down the hunters. However, 2 people were severely injured. Please give a round of applause for the bravery of Brian Smith, who took a knife for his mate, Betty White, Harrison said with gratitude. I clapped along with the crowd, proud that Brian had done that to protect Betty. And to Angela Wood, who unfortunately couldn't make it today because of her condition. She took the bullet for her son, Andrew Turner. We are unbelievably lucky to have not lost such a brave woman. I felt the tears build up in my eyes, but I didn't dare let it fall. I smiled with the relief that my mother had made it, and clapped proudly with the crowd. Are you okay? Jake said through the mind link. With healers, it was impossible to block out each other. Healers were supposed to work together, and it was forbidden to deny each other. Yes, Jake. I'm just happy that my mom is okay. She's from Wood's family, Jake said, causing me to smile even bigger. That's my Aunt Angela. However, we are still in danger, Harrison continued bluntly. It was an alpha's duty not to lie to their pack. We got a lead on rogues helping these hunters take down both our packs. It is true. Rogues and hunters have teamed up. My mouth dropped open and there were loud gasps. The whole room started talking hysterically. Before it could get any crazier, Brian and Harrison said, Quiet down! The whole room fell silent in a second. Jake and I were shocked, having to hear this for the first time. The other representatives kept a straight face, but I could tell they were as scared as everyone in this room was. Why? I blurted out before thinking twice, causing everyone to look at us. I was genuinely curious. I held my head high, looking Harrison square in the eyes. What are their intentions? It took a couple of seconds for Harrison to answer. He looked me straight in the eyes and then back at everyone in front of him. We have something that the hunters are after, but never in a million years will I give it to them. In a second, the room was in complete chaos. What? A guy with graying hair yelled. This is just ridiculous, a woman cried, clutching her 3-year-old son to her. You would put your packs in danger because you refused to give something up? Another woman yelled. Enough! Brian's voice roared throughout the crowd. It shook the windows, causing a silence to fall upon the room. Everyone looked down, ashamed and scared. I, too, shrunk back a bit from the authority in his voice. It is too valuable to be given up. What could it possibly be? Jake said beside me, shock written across his features. I'm afraid that is confidential, Harrison replied. This meeting is adjourned. Please leave without drawing attention towards our pack house. In an hour and a half, the conference room was emptied out and everyone had left. Clark, James, and Sam had left. We all slumped down in the couches in the living area, deep in thought. What do the hunters want? I brought myself to ask my friends. I have no idea, Perry replied. Only the alphas know. At that moment, Brian and Harrison came out of the conference room. They looked exhausted and stressed. Betty stood up from her seat, hugging Brian to calm him down. Harrison walked towards the hallway that led to the front door. He was probably going for a run to let off some steam. "Jake, are you ready to go?" I asked, getting up from my seat. I really wanted to see my family. Jake nodded, following me to the front door. "That was intense," Jake said. "Tell me about it. Are you ready to see your mom? I can't wait to see her. I missed her so much. I can't wait to hear her compliments. I know what she's going to say already. She's going to thank me for being the doting cousin, and she's going to say I'm immensely handsome," Jake joked. I elbowed him in the ribs and laughed. "You should better watch out. Once she found out what you said, she won't be complimenting you anymore," I said. "I'm kidding," Jake said, throwing his arm around my shoulder. "I miss Aunt Angela and I really want to see her after the attack," I said bluntly. "Just say it, Jake. Avoiding it wouldn't change the truth." "I'm sore." He went silent when we saw the scene in front of us. I froze, feeling the familiar ache in my chest. Only this time, it was 10 times worse. I've always felt it when he kissed another girl, or the one time he made love to another girl. It was completely different when you saw it. It confirmed that whatever you were feeling was true. Harrison's back was faced towards us, and Sarah was on the other side of the door. She smiled, before reaching up on her tiptoes to peck Harrison on his lips. Although it was only a millisecond, my heart shattered and it felt like a cobra wrapped itself around my chest. I bit my lip, refusing to let the growl that threatened to escape. My wolf was outraged. Jake looked angry as he pulled me closer to his chest and pushed towards the door. "Excuse me," he said, rudely shoving past Harrison. He put me in the passenger seat of my Pegasus and he climbed into the driver's seat. He drove out of there as fast as possible. However, I didn't miss the hurt look that crossed Harrison's features when he looked at me. After a couple of Jake's concerned glances, I said, "I'm fine, Jake. I don't believe you. You're so honest with everything else except yourself." I flinched, looking at him. I could tell he was angry by the way he clutched the steering wheel tightly, causing his knuckles to turn white. "He's an asshole," he continued. "Forget it, Jake," I said, trying to change the subject. "No, Jessie. You shouldn't try to run away from your problems with Harrison," he cried stubbornly. "I'm not running away, Jake," I snapped. "If I were running away, I wouldn't have come here in the first place. And that also brings us back to why we came here in the first place. I came here for my mom, not Harrison." We arrived at my house in no time, the mini mansion looming over us. Jake and I sat there for a couple of seconds. Looking at me, he said, "You're right. I'm sorry." "Jake, you're just being a good cousin," I smiled. "So thank you for looking after me." "Always, Jessie," Jake said. "Now let's get inside so Aunt Angela could compliment me." We got out of our car. As we approached the house, someone opened the door for us. Brown eyes stared at me, his brown hair swaying in the harsh winds. His smile graced his handsome face before he engulfed me in his muscular arms. Andrew!" I screamed, hugging him tighter. I felt a few tears of happiness escape. "I've missed you so much." "My little sister," he said, pulling back from me to look at me. "You've got some toned arms." "Did this guy?" Andrew stopped to slap Jake's head. "Work you too hard?" "She was a weakling," Jake said, putting Andrew in a headlock once Andrew let go of me. "She couldn't even lift a hollow block." "Hey," I snapped. "Stop exaggerating." "Boys," a feminine voice laughed. "They think all girls are weaklings." "Amanda!" I shouted out her name, almost tackling the petite blonde-haired woman to the ground. Amanda and I had definitely gotten closer when Andrew and her came to visit me 6 months ago. We went shopping, sharing similar thoughts and our sarcasm towards Andrew. She was like my older sister, which she was. To be precise, she was my older sister-in-law. Yes, she was human, and yes, she was mates with my older brother. "Jessie, you're going to kill me," she choked. I let go of her slightly before saying, "Right, you're human. Who taught you to be so cocky?" "Was it Jake?" Amanda gasped, casting a teasing glare at Jake. "Why does everybody blame me?" Jake pretended as if he was crying. "Because you're so dumb, Jake." All 3 of us said in unison, obviously used to saying this one statement to him. "You guys are all mean. I hate you all," Jake said, crossing his arms over his chest like a 5-year-old. "Anyways, Amanda is making food since Aunt Kara is on a trip around the world," Andrew said. "I'll take you to see Mom." My heart was pounding hard with every step we took towards her room. I flinched when I heard a strangled cough. Andrew put his hand on my shoulder, trying to comfort me. The tears spilled out all at once when Andrew opened the door, causing my heart to break. My mother lay in her bed, looking at us tiredly. Every blink was longer than it was supposed to be. Her translucent skin had sheen of sweat, although the room was cold. Her dry lips turned up in a smile as she looked at us. "Jessie, my baby," she said hoarsely. "Why are you crying? Come here and give me a hug." I came over to her, hugging her softly. Her arms shook as she lifted them slowly to go around neck. "Mom, I'm just so happy to see you." Luckily, there were no wounds on her face because that would have hurt me even more. I did not dare remove the blanket around her, because if I did, I would have seen the gauze wrapped around the area she was shot. "I missed you so much, Jessie," my mom said, smiling. "Hey, Auntie," Jake said happily, coming to give my mom a quick peck on the cheek. "Oh, Jake, you're so handsome," my mom said, patting his cheek. "Thanks for taking care of Jessie." I rolled my eyes as Jake flashed me a knowing smirk. "You're welcome. Anything for my family." "Have you found your mate yet?" my mom asked, knowing of Jake's conquest to find his mate. "No," Jake said darkly before joking around. "I don't think anybody could handle this much strength and hotness." "Better watch it, boy," my mom laughed tiredly. "Even if I'm weak, I could take you down. Why don't we let Jessie and my mom have a little alone time right now?" Andrew said, smiling at the two of us. "So, how are you?" I asked Mom after they have left us. "I'm fine, Jessie." "Mom," I said, fresh tears welling up in my eyes. "I'm sorry it wasn't there. I feel like it's my fault that you guys got attacked. I'm so sorry. You almost died because of me. I am the reason for all this. Nonsense, Jessie," my mom scolded. "Stop blaming yourself for things that you had no intentions doing. It's the truth. Give me proof that it is then." When I stayed quiet, my mom continued. "Jessie, you always blame yourself. You always tire yourself. None of this is your fault. Stop it. I got shot because I was protecting my children, and I would rather die than let my children die." "I love you, Mom," I cried, laying next to her in her queen-sized bed. "Stop crying," my mom said. "How about you? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, clueless. Why would she ask that question when I was clearly healthy and unhurt? "I heard about Harrison, honey," my mom whispered. My heart constricted and my tears started falling even harder. Here, with my mom, it was hard to pretend I was okay with it. She would read the lie. "I don't even know," I blurted before I could stop myself. "I was the one who broke up with him, but I didn't break up with him because I didn't love him anymore. I broke up with him because I didn't want him to get tangled up with my own problems for being a healer. It hurts me to know he loves another girl. It hurts me to know that he's happy without me. It hurts me to know he's kissing and hugging somebody else. I'm pretending that I'm fine, but I'm far from it." It went quiet for a moment before my mother said, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Just remember one thing. What is it? Love is always going to find ways to kill people. That's the test. It's the test to see that two people will still love each other despite their challenges." While everybody was doing something productive and fun, I sat outside on the porch steps. I'm not usually one to wallow in self-pity, but here I was being a Debbie Downer. It angered me that I was being so weak and vulnerable, doubting everything in life and being such a pessimist. Despite my resistance to talk about Harrison, it did help beneficially. It made me open my eyes to the fact that I wasn't completely at fault for my heartbreak at this moment. It took my mother to realize what everybody had been telling me. He didn't have to get into a relationship just because I wanted a little break. We were soulmates for crying aloud. I missed him. I missed his warm hugs. I missed our passionate kisses. I missed his teasing and his joking. I missed snuggling up next to him. I missed the sparks that flew whenever we touched. I missed his laugh. I missed his arrogant smirk. I missed everything about him. What happened to us? That's right. I ended it. My hands itched to run through his peri-black hair, which he still wore short. I wanted to stare into his blue eyes forever, knowing that nobody else in the entire universe would feel the way I did when I stared into them. I wanted to kiss his soft lips, anticipating the tingles that would erupt throughout my body in the next few milliseconds. He was an addiction, like my own drug, like my own coffee flavor, and you all know how much I love coffee. Ugh, I am such a hopeless romantic. "You just love him," my wolf teased me. "You have got to be kidding me. You have to use that right now? Seriously? Thanks for bringing me down memory lane," I snapped, remembering the first time that Harrison told me he loved me. Although it should have pained me, I couldn't help the silly smile that crept its way onto my face. "He still loves you too," she whispered. My heart thudded against my chest before I laughed at her. "You don't believe me? He has a girlfriend, and to think I was the hopeless romantic. You're even worse." "Growl! You're so girly. Couldn't you just growl instead of actually saying it? That's like saying OMG instead of saying oh my gosh. I'm telling you, he still loves you." Right, that would be the day Paula Deen stops clogging her arteries with butter. "You're such a pessimist, and you're a nosy gossip girl. Shut up. You're the one that's a female dog, literally. Can you just make up with him?" I miss my big dog. "Ew, that's what you call Harrison's wolf?" I scrunched up my nose before I sighed sadly. I miss him too. I swear, it's like I could smell him right now. His manly scent wafted up my nose, causing my wolf to purr in delight. I inhaled, drinking it up, drinking it up. My eyes rolled back in contentment and I moaned softly. "That's my favorite sound of all time," an amused voice joked. "That's my favorite sound of all time," an amused voice joked. I jumped a foot in the air, snapping my eyes to meet amused, clear ones. He ran his hand in his dark hair, giving me one of his genuine smiles. "Oh." He sat next to me, looking at the dark forest in front of us. I would have been angry that he approached, but there was just something about the way he approached me tonight that said he wasn't looking for a fight. For the first time in 14 months, I agreed with him. I was tired of all this hullabaloo. "Yes, I just use hullabaloo." "You're still as cocky as ever," I said, smiling slightly at the memories. Harrison smirked, causing my toes to curl. As cliché as it sounded, there was no other man that could measure up to his looks. He was excessively handsome to compare. "I see that you're still a cranky old woman trapped in a teenage body," Harrison joked. I sighed inwardly. He was still the same. He didn't change much after all. "Your comebacks are still lame. Come on, Mr. White. Haven't I taught you anything?" It's hard for a student to learn if he had a crappy teacher. "Touché," I smirked. "I thought you were hanging out with Nell." "Nell decided to cut up Betty's undergarments," he said, chuckling. "Oh gosh, that sound." It was music to my ears. I didn't want to be there when Betty throws a tantrum. In that very moment, I laughed at perfect timing. There was a loud crash inside the house. "Nelson Cooper," Betty growled. "You are such an immature brat." A high-pitched scream followed, a scream that only belonged to Nelson Cooper. Harrison and I erupted into laughter. Sure, it wasn't a laugh that made me hiccup, but I still appreciated the fact that I actually laughed in his presence. The silence that followed was actually comforting. I couldn't believe that we were actually having a civil conversation. "So, how's your mom?" Harrison asked, genuinely concerned. I didn't know what possessed me, but there was just something about him that made me trust him. "She's fine," I sighed. I just wished I was there to save her. She wouldn't be suffering right now. "It's not your fault," he said. Call me crazy, but I think he scooted the tiniest bit closer to me. "You didn't know it was going to happen. Actually, none of us knew. You should stop blaming yourself for everything, Jez." "So, you and Sarah?" I asked. Well, in actuality, I blurted it out. I couldn't help it. I couldn't contain the burning curiosity inside me any longer. In addition, I wanted to stop talking about my mom before I crashed down again. His eyes widened before he scratched the back of his neck. "It's nothing," he said simply while shrugging. I found his answer irritating and it angered me. I pushed my brown hair out of my face, sure that my green eyes were blazing with anger. "It's nothing?" I snapped. "What do you mean it's nothing? Was he using her?" She was such a sweet girl. For him to be doing that to her was totally wrong. She did nothing wrong to him and he was kissing her up for a heartbreak. You wouldn't understand, Jez," Harrison whispered, irritation blazed in his blue eyes. "Oh, please enlighten me," I said sarcastically. "It's better left unsaid, Jessie. She loves you, you know." My voice started rising now. I stood up, facing him. "And you had to go and break her heart." At that moment, tears started spilling out of my eyes. I rubbed furiously at them. In that moment, I was trying to convince myself if I was talking about Sarah or me. "What exactly are you trying to do?" I yelled. "Jessie," Harrison said desperately. "I'm telling you. Ignorance is bliss. I'm in no mood for secrets right now." "Why do you care, huh?" Harrison said, his voice rising too. He was so close that I could feel the electricity buzzing around us. I looked up into his darkened eyes. "Why do you care what goes on between Sarah and me? Stop trying to turn the tables, Harrison," I sneered, poking him in the chest. "Why do you care, Jessie? I asked you a question. Why do you care?" Harrison growled. "It shouldn't matter so much to you, Jessie. You're the one who broke it off. So why the hell should you care? Did it ever occur to you that I'm still in love with you?" I snapped, tears rolling down my flushed face. I shoved him in the chest and punched him from the built-in anger. "Just because I broke up with you doesn't mean you have to have a girlfriend." "You want to know why I broke up with you?" "I didn't break up with you because I didn't love you. I just didn't want you to get hurt and tangled up into my mess." "You want to know why? Because I loved you too damn much to watch you get hurt." I drew in a shaky breath, sobbing loudly. I didn't know if Harrison could understand me anymore with the way I was speaking. He didn't say anything, his eyes widening and staring down at me in shock. I was simply too stupid. I was even thinking that my own soulmate still loved me. Then there it was. The searing pain that almost made me die, Harrison. I almost died because you made love to another woman. "Does this mark mean nothing to you?" I asked, shoving my brown hair back and showing him the crescent-shaped birthmark on my neck. So the answer to your question is pretty clear. I care because I'm still irrevocably in love with you. He stayed quiet for a bit before his lips trembled. I'm sorry, he whispered. You're not sorry, I snapped once again. My anger surfaced once again. If you were sorry or if I meant anything to you, you wouldn't have been with Sarah. Jess, Harrison replied, broken. Don't, Harrison. I held up my hand. Don't pretend to care when you obviously don't. You're still that playboy, and I was one of those stupid Sues who fell in love with his player ways. God damn it, Harrison growled, his eyes turning black. He punched the cement wall of the house, leaving a dent on it. I automatically flinched back, although I knew he wouldn't hurt me. If you still loved me, you would have faith in our relationship. If you still loved me, you would have made sure that you would keep our relationship alive despite the drama that comes with being a healer. If you still wanted a relationship, we would still have one. Don't give me that I didn't care for you when you gave the impression that you didn't love me anymore when we broke up. So stop being jealous of my relationship with Sarah. You're such an asshole, I screamed, shoving him in the chest. What the hell is going on here? Brian shouted, running out the back door. He put himself in the middle of Harrison and I. Harrison's eyes were no longer a crystal blue, but pitch black. His growls filled the silence in the air. Harry, Nell, Jennifer, Daisy, and Betty were watching with wide eyes from the porch. Jake stood at my side, glaring at Harrison. Step away, Smith, Harrison said, breathing in and out. This is a conversation between me and Jessie. This conversation has ended, Brian said. You need to calm this down. Whatever, Harrison muttered, looking at me before he ran off. His clothes shredded, his beautiful gray wolf sprinting into the forest. Jake, calm Jessie down. It was only then that I realized my fur was itching to escape my skin and my growls escaped low and vicious. There might be hunters in the forest, and the last thing we need is a dead alpha, Brian ordered. My blood ran cold, stopping my growls and snapping me out of my anger. I watched as Brian ran off towards the woods in his wolf form. After hearing what Brian said, I wanted to follow him to make sure that my mate was okay. Jessie, you're not going there, Jake ordered, reading my thoughts through the mind link. He was a higher healer than I was, so I was possessed to stay where I was. I looked at him angrily, storming into the house with fresh tears running down my face. I ignored the calls of my friends and cursed myself for being so stupid. Please be okay, my wolf whispered at the same time I did.